Hello guys, happy to see you back on my channel. In the first video we talked about the KATVR hardware, the setup struggles and the physical side of using a VR treadmill. If you haven't seen that video yet, I highly recommend to watch it first because today we are building directly on top of that. In this episode, we are moving away from hardware, focusing on software and connectivity, because this is the part where most of the people running into problems. So today I will walk you through the standalone plus Nexus connection possibility and also explaining the three main PCVR options, also showing you the pros and cons and which one works the best in real KATVR usage. First, let's talk about the difference between standalone VR and PCVR. If you would like to play directly through the headset with Nexus, unfortunately you are limited only for the standalone content through Horizon. That's totally fine for casual VR, but the game library is a lot smaller, and most of these Horizon games starts at around 20 euros each. Of course, you have the possibility to subscribe on the Horizon Plus for like 70 euros per year. But once you cancel it, you will lose all the access to the games that you have already installed. On top of that, these games have mostly simplified movement system, and the number of the games that are totally supported by KATVR treadmill are even more smaller. But once you have changed to PCVR, everything changes because you suddenly get access to a massive game library, better graphics, and also for more advanced movement system. What is of course very important if you would like to use a KATVR treadmill. As I mentioned in the video before, you will also get access to some Steam coupons by purchasing a KATVR, and these coupons can make a lot of savings by building up your game library. I would like to make also a separate video, hopefully on the next week, how to make your game library more cheaper and building it up easier on PCVR. If you would like to connect through Nexus, there is a really great step-by-step video on the official KATVR website. So I don't really want to reinvent the wheel. I will just drop the link down below in the description. Quick heads up before we moving on. That part caused me a lot of trouble. When the pairing window pops up, it asks you to turn off all the Android devices, and for that you have to turn off Bluetooth and also Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi is still on, the pairing process shows like it's starting, but nothing actually happens in the background and you will be stuck. Once you are on PC, the link method becomes critical. KATVR itself, based on real physical movement, so any latency, shutter, tracking issue, or software conflict immediately breaks the immersion. That's why not every PCVR link methods work equally well with KATVR. The first step is to install the free SteamVR app from the Steam store. Once it's done, you also have to install the virtual desktop streamer from vrdesktop.net, which is also free for PC. Even if you are planning to use another link methods such as Metalink or SteamLink, this app includes a very useful feature that can help many common issues. After starting Virtual Desktop Streamer, go to the page About and click on Check for interfering apps. This will list applications that may need to be disabled or uninstalled. For example, on my Lenovo PC, I used Lenovo Vantage app, what caused connection problems with every different link method. I'm not sure why, but after removing it, everything worked just fine without any disconnections. If you plan to connect via Wi-Fi, you also need to check your router settings. I highly recommend to connect your PC via Cat6 Ethernet cable. Anyway, you will have a bottleneck in your connection. After connecting your headset via Wi-Fi, you also need to check if your router is Wi-Fi 6 capable. Anyway, you will still have some disconnections. If you have access to your router settings, I also highly recommend to fix the IPs for both of the devices in the DHCP. So both of the devices always keep the same IPs. There are some settings that is definitely recommended and it's nice to have. If the router is capable of, also turn on adaptive QoS for gaming. It also helps the connection to make it better. And if you have a Wi-Fi 7 router, you can also enable the MLO and set the Wi-Fi bandwidth to 160 megahertz. As far as I remember, you also need to set a password VPA2/VPA3. Otherwise, the connection may not work properly. There are two more Windows settings that caused me also a few troubles. Make sure that your PC connection set from public to private. And also don't forget to enable on the firewall on PC all VR games, KATVR gateway software, and all Steam and SteamVR components. After completing all these steps and connecting your headset via Wi-Fi, you should see the followed details. Wi-Fi 6 connection, excellent signal strength, and also the minimum speed of 1200 megabits. If you see lower speeds, your headset might connect it to the 2.4 gigahertz network. In that case, try to reconnect or disable that Wi-Fi signal. One thing that many people overlook is monitor resolution and refresh rate. If you are using a 4K monitor like me, or your monitor frequency doesn't match your headset refresh rate, you may also experience shutters or performance drops. Simply aligning these settings can resolve many unexplained issues. If you can't align them to the same frequency, try to set the most near frequency that is possible. Before we moving on, I would like to let you know that I do have a referral link in the description below. So if you are planning to buy a KATVR device, you can get a discount up to $130 depending on the device. And at the same time, also supporting my unsponsored channel with $6 to $30 at no extra cost to you. I will use that support to test more components and games and create even higher quality contents about these devices, totally sugar-free. I'm doing it in my free time with the goal of saving you a lot of time, so you don't have to search all over the internet for the information when you're running in the same issues that I did, or when you are trying to configure the device and figure out which game's working properly. Of course, you are totally free to ignore it, but a subscription, like, or comment also helps me to know that I should keep going. Metalink, should I use it with KATVR? If you are planning to connect it with the cable, then definitely yes, because it's pretty stable. The latency is low, the setup is easy, and works with the SteamVR without any major issues. Plug it in and it works. But there is the problem, the cable. It doesn't move naturally with the body after multiple rotations. Most of the people tends to turn the 180 degrees in the same directions, which cause the cable to twist, get stuck, and potentially damage the cable and the ports on the both sides. Now let's talk about the wireless Metalink. In my experience, the wireless Metalink can run into frequent disconnections in SteamVR with the error code 250 and 254. If you are experiencing the same issues like I had and don't want to use the cable, this solution is might not for you. Metalink is a very good solution if you want simplicity and stability because it comes with the device, but it only works with the cable, so the flexibility you can totally forget. Virtual desktop. It's powerful, no question about that. It pushes your GPU and CPU to its limits better than the other options, which can result in better image quality and smoother visuals. But that also means higher risk. I tested it on NVIDIA 4070 Super, and using the wrong codec actually caused a full GPU driver crash. At that point, the only possibility you have to do a cold restart on your PC, not only restarting the game. So don't blindly trust all the videos you see online. Start with the recommended codec settings and only experiment with another step by step. I also run into crashes when exiting the app and launching it again, or even when I left the headset idle and it went into sleep mode. In some cases, it totally froze my PC. So my honest take is virtual desktop is a great solution for advanced users, but I wouldn't recommend it for regular people because you will likely to spend a lot of time configuring it and you may still experience crashes and stability issues. In my opinion, this solution worked really well for regular VR users in the past, but with KATVR, yes, it works, yet it can create more troubles than benefits. So let's talk about Steam Link. In my experience, Steam Link is the most stable and compatible solution for KATVR. It works smoothly with SteamVR, with the mandatory CAT gateway software, and also with third-party softwares. Tracking is stable, performance is predictable, and it handles physical movement very well. If you are serious about CAT VR and want the least amount of headaches, Steam Link is my top recommendation. Of course, for that, you have to do the settings also in the SteamVR, what you can see in the upcoming part. So, right after we started the SteamVR, if we push the left home button, we getting into the settings. You should go to the VR settings because this is the most important part where we have to check all the settings that you need for the games. By the generals, in the beginning, just turn off SteamVR Home. It takes some resources, it's better to turn it off. You still can manage your games from the home or from the library. The another settings that we need is by the video. But as you can see, the refresh rate is better to turn it to 90, or if your computer is capable, also turn it to 120. You will see it in the games how it works properly, if you should turn it back to 90, or it works properly also with 120 Hz. If you turn the SteamVR on the first time, you see the render resolution on auto. I also highly recommend to turn it on and fix it to 100%. There is also a nice settings that you might need to check. There are some games that need a lot more resources, and you can turn them separately for the special games. For example, if I'm going on and choosing After the Fall, I turned the custom resolution down to 80% because it works better and without less latency or lags. The field of view should be always 100%. Here in this page, you only should play with the custom resolution. There is one important settings that you need to turn off: advanced super sample filtering. I checked it in many videos. Yes, it helps you to have less lags or latency problems. Just turn it off. As always, if the KATVR is not starting, you have to check on the manage add-ons, because if you had a crash or something, the cut in Steam executor might be turned off and all the other add-ons that you might going to use. Turn everything back to on if you don't see the KATVR, like now I don't. By virtual desktop, you don't really have to set anything, but as you can see, developers, maybe this many point you can only see if you turn on advanced settings, but actually this is only for checking frame times, GPU and so on. You don't really have to play around here. The next important part is the Steam Link, where if you turn it on in the first time, it's auto, but try the target bandwidth to turn back to 120 or 150. You will see how your games are going with some latency issues. Never turn it to maximum, anyway, it's going to have a lot of lags. All the others, you can leave it on basics and you can start the first game. If your KATVR didn't start it yet, that's because maybe your shoes and your KATVR is not turned on. How you see it? If you're going to your desktop, you see this small application, and as you can see, my headset and two of my joysticks are on, but the base station is still not detected. For that, on your KATVR device, there is that button that you have to push, and right after, if it's still not popping up, then it's because the KATVR gateway is not running. If you're also turning that on, as you can see, it becomes blue, so it's become detected. So if we are going back to the Steam, you also see the overlay if it's turned on. You can turn it on by the VR HUD, and there, if that small button is turned on, it should automatically shows up on your display. I highly recommend to always turn it on. I really like this feature because you always see how many steps you already have done, the today's rank, and also on the left corner, how your device become discalibrated. So you always see why you are moving a little bit sideways. I also got this information last week. For example, if like regular people moving always in the same direction, then 5 to 10% it can be always discalibrated. So you have to do the recalibration as mentioned before with the two trigger button or the button on your device. I would like to also mention here the UEVR. It's very interesting, however, I still don't have too much experience about it. But it's important to understand what it's actually capable of. It virtualizes games into VR view, but the movement is not truly mapped. So imagine it like still playing on a game console, and when you pushing the button forward, so in that case you're running forward in KATVR, that's working. But for example, in RPG games, when you have to shoot up or down, you still have to move the joysticks. So in the YouTube videos, that looks really fun and like it's working without any trouble. But in the reality, you're not going to enjoy that. You can look up, but you still can't shoot, for example, a little bit more up. In my opinion, Metalink is a very good solution if you would like to use the cable, but you have the disadvantage of flexibility. Virtual Desktop Streamer is very powerful, but here you definitely need a lot of hours to figure out how to configure it, and still after that you might going to have some crashes. So from my view, the best solution is the Steam Link, and this is the most stable and compatible option. In the next videos, I will focus on the games that actually work perfectly with KATVR, and I would like to also present how to build your Steam library the most smartest and cheapest way. If this video helped you, please subscribe, also like the video, blah blah blah. Yes, that can help me to build up my community and also to reach to those people who had the same issues that you and me had. If you have any further questions, just leave a comment. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!